Hey everybody, welcome to Backlog Crew, the show where we play old games together and talk about them. I'm Kurt. That's John. I'm pointing the opposite direction this time because apparently our recording software flips the image. So good to know that now. This is our part two video on the game Limbo by Playdead. We're going to be talking about chapters 21 until the end. John, is there somewhere you want to start?
Well, I just got to say that these puzzles got a lot more difficult real quickly.
They did. It wasn't. It didn't feel gradual at all. It was. It was chapters 1 through 20. I should probably go this way. Chapters 1 through 21, and then just like immediately spikes straight up as soon as you get to the hotel.
That's exactly how I felt about it. I felt the developers were like, okay, so the first half of this game, we're going to be nice and introducing these different concepts of our game. We're going to throw in these worms and demonstrate how those work. We're going to throw in these blocks, how you can throw them around and manipulate them and use them to your advantage. And then right when you hit 21, it's like, all right, we're going to throw all that at you, but a lot more saws, a lot more death, a lot more confusion, and a lot more running back and forth to definitely make it a challenge to get to the end of this adventure.
Yeah, and the puzzles got a lot more elaborate because in the beginning it's kind of just, oh, there's a pit. Use what you can immediately see on the screen to figure out how to get across it. And now it's like, here's this area that has 3 or 4 routes. Figure out how to move things around and like manipulate a larger environment.
Mhm.
What is there a specific puzzle that stands out for you?
I would say the spinning puzzle where you were using all of these misdirection arrows to manipulate which way the world was turned. So the
Hmm.
world would turn, and then you would be starting to use the walls or the ceiling as
Yeah.
your walkways, and then it would change which directions you had to use on your keyboard to manipulate the objects and the character, and that
Oh, were
sometimes
you
caused
playing
some
with keyboard?
confusions for me. I was playing with a keyboard.
That I had written down in my notes. I'm playing on PS4, and I kept switching awkwardly between the D-pad and the control stick. And so I was going to ask which one you like defaulted to, but man, I can't
Mhm.
imagine playing a 2D platformer with a keyboard. That sounds awful. Was it bad? Was it good?
I would say that's probably where my confusion with the jumping off chains and the grabbing the chains came into effect because I had
Mm,
mentioned that in our previous episode, and the look on your face told me you did not have that problem last time.
I did not.
So that would probably what was causing that issue for me.
Huh.
So what I noticed the second playthrough after I had this conversation is that when you jump with your character to one of the chains, your character automatically grabs them, but
Mm.
instinctively I was pressing the button to do an action, thinking that's what
Oh.
I had to do. And then instinctively, to jump in the air with the character, you have to press the up button on whichever controller or keyboard you're going to be using. Well, if you're holding that button and you swing in a direction with the chain, your character automatically jumps off. So I would say at least 20 of my deaths in this second half of the game were just me still holding down the up button when I'm trying to swing back and forth.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that does sound like it would make a mess of things, especially I don't want to jump ahead too much, but you know
Hmm.
the puzzles when the gravity starts shifting.
Hmm. Yes,
I'm
exactly.
sure that was weird. Um, those controls were hard for me to get used to, but I think they were hard for me to get used to because they're good.
Hmm.
And let me explain what I mean. So the basic premise is the part where you're standing on the ground, you flip a switch, and then you flip upside down, you're standing on the ceiling, and you're moving side to side.
Hmm.
There's a lot
Right.
of games like I don't know, Yoshi's Island for just a random example I can think of where you're plays Baby Mario and you're running on the ceiling. Because you're upside down, you need to hold the opposite direction you want to go. So
Hmm.
to go left, you need to go right. To go right, you need to hold left.
Hmm.
And up and down is also inverse sometimes. And so I was just used to that from playing other games. And when this one, it's like, no, left is left and right is right, even though you're upside down. And I kept pressing, there's a part where you're supposed to like grab onto something while you're upside down. And I kept pressing down, or yeah, I kept pressing down to try to climb it or something. And it would just like let go. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening anymore. But yeah, I think honestly this is probably a better way for those controls to be set up. It's just that it's different than what every other game has done, and I died a ton in the sections where I was upside down just because I kept pressing the wrong direction. So I
Right.
feel you with those.
Yeah, to continue from our last conversation about this, the simplicity of the controls is still in effect here. I would still say the controls are still simple. However, learning those different directions and maintaining the correct direction, even when you're flipped upside down, that did have a slight learning curve to it, especially with the um, increased difficulty of these puzzles. So
Hmm.
I did enjoy each of those puzzles, but I would say that there was a definite difficulty increase between the first half and the second half.
I learned that there was another button that did something on my controller.
Really?
So X is jump, but triangle is also jump for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why triangle is also jump, but I learned that. And I also learned that if you hold jump, did
Hmm.
you try holding jump?
Probably, yeah, a
He,
little
he
too much.
he just like bunny hops around, and it's adorable. It's amazing. Going back to puzzles, I struggled with one puzzle. It's pretty early on past the hotel, but you have the headworm, and you're running right, and sort of you drop down into an area, and there's
Hmm.
like some like I don't know if it's like scaffolding or some like lights hanging from the ceiling that you're walking across.
Hmm.
But you jump over some saw blades, and then you get rid of it, and then you have to go back. And the gap between these two platforms was like really big, and I'm just running back and forth like, how do I do this? There's a saw one direction, there's a bottomless pit the other, and eventually you had to like counterbalance your weight on one side of the platform to make it tilt. And I
Hmm.
tried that over and over again. It didn't work. And then one time I just did it, and I happened to grab onto the edge. I like magnet handed, like I was like this far away, and it was like, there you go, perfect.
Hmm.
I don't know. That was a weird puzzle for me.
Yes, that puzzle. Let's just say I threw myself into that cliff to the right of a few times, just because I thought that might have been a secret direction you're supposed to go. But I do agree with those puzzles. I assumed I did something incorrectly. So I tried the counterbalance thing, and as I kept trying it, I could not get the sides to line up fast enough or
Right.
to get across them after I tilted them back and forth fast enough to make it onto that platform.
Hmm.
And so I thought I did something wrong. So I actually went back a puzzle and tried to get a reimagining of what was going on to just get a different perspective. That did not help. Obviously, definitely did not help. So I just ended up playing with it a few times, and I had to get more patient with it. So I was starting to get a little impatient with it, and I ended up. I think I went back and forth at least 5 times before
Hmm.
in my head, I was like, okay, this has got to be it. And then I finally jumped across and I made it. And then you get to that second one. So for the second puzzle, you actually have to pull the higher platform towards you and then let go and let it sway back and forth like a pendulum.
Hmm.
And then on that puzzle, every time I died, it made me sad because I had to do the first half of
Oh
the puzzle
no.
again.
Oh
So
man.
it was pretty terrible. So I'm assuming after you finished the first one, you didn't have a problem
Yeah.
with the second one,
I
did you?
guess I got lucky and just did it, so I didn't die, so it didn't reset me. Yeah. The
So
the the resetting
yeah.
in this game is generally generous. Probably was a
Hmm.
better way to say that, but every once in a while it would be like, I have to do all of that. Like the part with the elevator where you have to raise and lower the elevator multiple times, push a box on top of it, set off the machine gun. If you like
Mm.
die, and then you have to move a box, and then you have to move another box, and if you die at any point, it drops you off at the bottom of the elevator, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I just have to press this button like 4 times and just wait. I mean, it's not. I'm not trying to be impatient here, but it's like I got to wait 40 seconds every time I die. I don't know.
Mhm. Right. So that was another tricky puzzle for me because I I had some overthinking going on in the previous puzzles. So I told myself I'm gonna go at this the most simple way I can think about it,
Uh-huh.
and that puzzle ended up being a lot more um, easy to make it through as opposed to some of the previous puzzles. Just in the fact that I finally had stopped overthinking them and just told myself, you just do whatever the first thing comes to your mind was,
Yeah,
and it
the
ended up
puzzles
working out for me.
the puzzles really are just, if you see it, you should probably push it, and
Hmm.
then if you can't do anything with it yet, it's like, all right, we'll come back and push it later. It's like, that's fine.
Hmm.
Um, I got stuck on that first machine gun puzzle, the one where there's a machine gun shooting horizontally and another one shooting vertically. I didn't
Hmm.
realize that the vertical one would move and chase you until I died
Yeah.
at least like 10 times. I was like,
Yeah.
kept trying to jump over the bullets. And I was like, what am I? I tried to go back and grab the box from the previous area, but it wouldn't let me take it with me.
Yeah. So I went for a big brain play on that one. My brain said Well, if they both fire, if the horizontal one fires at the same time as the vertical one, the vertical's bullets will
That
stop the
just
horizontal bullets. And let's just say my character didn't live long after that. So, but in doing that, I did notice that the vertical one moved left.
yeah.
And so I was thinking, let me try that again. Maybe I did it too quick. And so then I jumped over and then I jumped back and actually landed in front of the horizontal gun and it
Yeah.
did its job pretty well. And then I was like, wait a minute, it can shoot this one and destroy it.
If the solution to that puzzle had been, oh, their bullets will bounce off of each other, I would have lost my mind. That would have been, that's got to be in a movie, right? Like two guys are shooting at each other and the bullets like bounce off each other.
Yeah, I believe
I,
that movie is called Wanted. So they're assassins and they curve bullets and they shoot bullets at each other and they shoot the bullets in midair and they cancel out.
my gosh, that's the dumbest thing. Thing that's so good. Trying to think of other puzzles.
Okay, well,
Um,
I have one for you.
yeah,
So
sure.
the introductory puzzle where it introduces the concept of pressing a button and the boxes go to the ceiling.
Like the
So
magnetism thing.
yes, not exactly magnetism on this one. It was only the boxes, and then it had a tire in the background, so you could see when you had flipped, and then a little timer goes off, and then it would all fall back down. So
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I spent a good at least 20 minutes on that puzzle trying to understand the concept. So in order to solve that puzzle, you actually have to take one of the boxes and put it at the top of a ramp, and that ramp in the box creates a self timer
hmm
for the button to be pressed.
Yeah.
But it took me about 20 minutes to realize that. But instinctively, I should have been like, "There's a ramp there for a reason."
Yeah. No, that one was weird though.
Yeah, and then on that same puzzle, I mistakenly, after you do the first time, you get the box to the second floor, right? And then you move it over so you can get out.
hmm
And then you have to go down to the lower floor, press the button again with the box on the timer, and then use that box you put on the second floor to jump through the exit while it's open.
mm
Well, I did not jump quick enough off the box, and that box shooting to the ceiling caused me a death, and I had to do it all over again after I'd already spent 20
Oh
minutes
man.
figuring out the mechanics of this puzzle. So it was very sad.
The changing gravity and like magnetism stuff is weird because there's one part where it was switching back and forth automatically.
hmm
And so like I jumped in the air and fell quite a bit and I didn't make it to where I was going to go. And then it switched and so I started falling the opposite direction. And apparently your fall time is like cumulative because normally that it wasn't like from a height that would have killed me, but it was
hmm
that I fell this far and then it added me falling that far. And so I like went back. I was like, oh man. And then he just stands there for a second and then he just like falls over. And I was like, oh, oops, my bad. Um,
That's funny that you mentioned that. I actually had a one of the puzzles has you with the, I believe you have the worm on your head, and then you're on the conveyor belts
yeah,
before you can jump through a piston going up and down trying to crush you.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So the second piston has some room in between the lip of the piston and the ceiling. And so my thought process was get my character right there. That'll give the character enough time to jump in there in between the piston going up and going down to crush me. And so I got the character up there and the character kind of crunched over and I was like, "Oh, okay, so he's just going to crouch there." And never in my head did I ever know about this character crouching in this entire game, but I
Yeah,
came up with that.
yeah,
And then
that's what's supposed to happen.
the piston came down and I tried to move and then my character just flops over and I
Yeah,
just kind of stared at it open mouth for a second because I did not think that was going to happen.
yeah. Sometimes you die and it's just like, oh, you died, and then just immediately the screen like blacks out, and then sometimes it's like, look what you've done, look what you did to this, and it just like slowly like pans in as the screen like darkens gradually. I don't know what the
And he
criteria for
just
that is.
ragdolls over. Yeah, that kind of makes me sad when it does it longer because I just want it to be over as quick as possible. I'm like, all right, I get it. I caused a mistake. I need to go back, but don't make me sit here and suffer and watch this poor ragdoll.
You know the part where there's the zip line kind of thing?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then there's like the nails that are sticking out of a telephone pole or whatever.
Mhm.
The first time I dodged those, and
Mhm.
then I like went down this ramp and I like jumped, and there was a sound, there was like a button I was supposed to hit to change gravity that I just didn't see. So I was like, huh, that's just a bottomless pit if I fall. So I better not let go or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, okay. So I just held on and I was like, I guess those won't kill me. And no, they just it is immediately just like and I'm like,
So fun fact, that one also took me 2 tries. So the first try to jump off, I had clicked the down button because I thought my character's going to jump off if I click the down button. It did not. I had
mm-hmm.
to click the up button for him to jump off. So I
Wait, it's
actually had to
up as
witness.
jump on the keyboard?
Mhm.
That's like a bad like cool math games game. Like where up is jump. Why isn't up like any other button on like spacebar or something? Or like jump, I mean.
So yeah, my controls on the keyboard are up, down, left, right, and then the control button is your action button, like hold a box,
That
use a
sounds
lever.
awful. That sounds awful.
So that's two different perspectives for this game here.
If you're gonna play this game on PC, just hook up a controller. It's harder than it should be, but it's not that hard. Just do it.
You're gonna upset the PC Master Race people that watch this video. So
As someone who newly has a PC, if you have a PC and choose to play 2D platformers with a keyboard and mouse, you are incorrect. I don't, I don't care. This is, if you can think of one and name it that's better with a keyboard and mouse, more power to you. But I can't at the moment. All right, tangent over. The it's like a mayfly or a wasp kind of thing. I'm gonna call it a fly. You know what I'm talking
hmm
about?
yes, the giant fly. Yeah.
I had trouble with that one because I didn't realize you were supposed to like sneak up on it. And so I kept just like charging it as fast as I could, and it was like, nah, man, buzz off.
Why isn't this working? So with that puzzle, I figured out pretty early that you needed to sneak up on it. However, I liked to test my limits to see how close I could get to the fly.
Hmm.
So this is where actually the keyboard came in handy. So if you repeatedly pressed right, it would never trigger the fly looking at you. So you could just spam the right trigger on your
Just like tap
keyboard.
tap 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 tap,
Yes, and it would actually get you there a lot quicker than holding it down till it stared at you.
and
And so
waiting.
I figured out the exact moment where your foot touches somewhere on that background where the fly flies away. And so I tried to get as close to that as possible before jumping, and then I still ended up missing the fly the first try, and I had to do it all over again.
That fly is another example of what on earth did this poor animal do to deserve this torture from this child? It's another animal that's just chilling where it lives. We show up, invade its home, and rip off its leg
And
again,
you know,
again.
I thought about that this conversation we had after we tore that fly's leg off, and I was waiting for that fly to come back in another puzzle
Yeah,
and like pick us up and just carry us somewhere else, but it never happened.
I
So
thought it
I
was
thought
gonna
that
go
was
like
funny.
get its buddies and just like a swarm was gonna be like a final boss of some sort and just like destroy us. But man, and it like I get it. It was a means to an end. It had to carry us up there, but it carried us up to where we needed to go. We could have let go at any point. I was jamming on that A button trying to let go, and it wouldn't let me let go. And he just ripped the leg off, and I'm like, dude, that was
So
unnecessary violence.
I also thought that I should have let go earlier because
Uh,
I thought we were going to get killed if we held on too long. And then the game said, no, we're just going to rip off this poor fly's leg and then it's going to fly away.
you're the
So
bad guy. You don't have a choice. That's what that felt like. Um, right before you get to the fly, did you find the secret tunnel?
I found a few of those secret shinies actually, and that was
Okay.
one of them. So that was actually something I was going to bring up. So, you
Was
know how I had mentioned previously that I was having a lot of trouble with some of these puzzles, and then I
mm,
had to tell my brain to simplify these puzzles.
mm.
I actually ended up finding three shinies
Oh
because
wow, it's worth more than me.
because the paths that I thought were the correct ones were
Uh-huh.
actually the more difficult paths that were kind of secret to get the shinies. So I would do these hard paths and I would realize, oh, I way overthought this and this is not even the right way.
So you went down like the tunnel that's just like complete darkness.
I just
Yeah,
kept jumping and jumping and I heard
yeah.
flies or something buzzing in there.
So you make it through there, and then you get a shiny or like an egg or whatever it's supposed to be. That was
hmm
the second one I found because I got one at the very beginning for going left instead of going right.
hmm
And I had a thought like, oh, this is how you get like a secret ending or something. If
hmm
you collect all the shinies, because there are these candles there, and there were two candles that were lit, and I had collected two shinies at that point. I was like, oh, if I collect this amount of shinies, then the candles will light and this door will open. And I looked it up, and apparently it's not like a secret ending, but that is like a secret level, and it's required to get like completion percentage and trophies and whatnot.
hmm
So that's interesting. Neither of us did that because we're fake gamer boys. But
And this was our first ever playthrough of the game, so
yeah, and it was the first playthrough. There was, I think I ended up getting three total shinies. I found another one in like the gears section.
I actually could not get to that one. I think I
It
had
was weird.
missed the opportunity to get to that one, and I
Mhm.
couldn't get back over there to it without jumping back into the previous puzzle.
Right.
And I did not want to do
Didn't want to do it
that.
again. I understand. Those were not easy puzzles. Um, but yeah. Let's see. Checking my notes real quick.
All right, while you check those, I'll tell you that I believe I found 4 shinies.
Ooh, John is the winner of Limbo,
Yay. So, but
competitive
yeah,
game
I
Limbo.
I found some of the harder ones though, which is crazy. I missed out on the easiest one where you just
You
go
just
left.
literally walk left. You get, and on PlayStation you get a trophy, and it says wrong way. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I got a
Um,
trophy for a few of the ones that I found. I don't know if I got one for every one or not, but I did go look through the different achievements that were possible on
mhm.
Steam, and one of the achievements is to complete the whole game in one sitting, dying 5 or less times. And
Okay.
I don't think I will ever be doing that.
I'm pretty sure there's a trophy or something for beating the whole game without dying once, and I just don't know.
That might
I
be our
mean,
hidden achievement thing, because there's only one
it's
hidden one.
it's more reasonable than something like Arkham City, which had a Dark Knight mode, which was if you die once, you like your game is over. It like deletes your save. I'm just like, why would anyone want to do that? At least in Limbo, it's like a little more reasonable, I guess, because it's a
Right.
shorter, probably easier, maybe game. Um, let's talk about the concept of the environment like actively changing around you, because there's the part where you finally find your sister,
hmm
at least you think you do, and then
hmm
a headworm jumps out of a pipe and makes you turn around and go the opposite direction. And I was just like, no. And I had looked at like how many chapters were left. Like I knew that wasn't the end of the game. Um,
hmm
but tangent. I didn't know if the second half of the game was going to be like, or the last quarter of the game was going to be like escorty type mission where you had to like
hmm
get your sister through treacherous terrain safely. Also, an
hmm
interesting way to spice up the puzzle. Probably better that I didn't do that because that could be tedious. But anyway,
Right.
it like turned us around, and I was like, I got to kill this headworm because I got to go back and I got to find my sister. But you kill the headworm and you have control again, and you head back the way you came, and it's different, right? I
hmm
didn't make that up. It's a
Completely
different
different.
environment. And
Completely.
I like double checked. I was like, oh, did I take a wrong turn? Like, did it send me like a different way I didn't notice and like blocked off? But like, no, it just the environment is different now.
hmm
Um, so that leaves me to discussion about the end. If you're ready to talk about the end, anything you want to say?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say we can move on to the end. That's definitely a interesting topic for sure. I'll let you go ahead and lead on that one.
Okay, so we get to it's. I'm not gonna say it's anticlimactic because the whole game is just solving puzzles. It's not like there needed to be a
hmm
giant swarm of flies as a final boss, but it's very like abrupt, and I think that's intentional. Because the idea it's like an anti-gravity puzzle, and anyway, you end up getting launched right, like gravity shifts right, and the camera slows down. A little bit of music comes in, and you slow motion uh, crash through like a glass pane, and then you fall to the ground. and then your eyes open and you stand up and you find your sister. And that's how the game ends. But the way that he is just like on the ground and like his eyes open and he just like slowly stands up, it's very reminiscent of the very beginning of the game. Like
Mhm.
I went back and loaded up the first chapter, and it's not exactly the same. I checked the environment. The environment is completely different. So
Mhm.
I thought it was like, oh well, this isn't relevant then. It's just he's just getting up. But then we think about what we were just talking about with the environment changing, where the headworm gets you. Um, so here's my theory that might
Mhm.
be obvious, but makes me feel smart for thinking about it. It's showing us that every time that the boy dies in the game, he wakes back up at the beginning and goes through a series of puzzles and stuff, all trying to find a sister. And so every time in the game that we die, it doesn't show it, but he like wakes up at the beginning and then just makes his way until he gets back to where we were, and then he tries again, just over and over again. He's in limbo, you know. It's eternal. I'm not going to pretend my theology is good enough to discuss what limbo actually is, but I feel like it kind of ties into the theme of just eternal continuance without any definitive end. Um, and so I don't know if it's symbolic or if it's just luck at the end of it, but he wakes up and he's able to like make it to his sister finally.
Mhm.
Is that just completely esoteric and nonsense, or is that a vibe that you got too?
That is not the take I would have had on that. That is a very interesting perspective, and that's something that's wonderful about this game is it doesn't
Interesting.
give you it doesn't give you enough information on backstory or anything
Hmm.
for you to have a concrete idea of what's going on. And so that helps you to draw your own conclusions on what's going on or let you make your own story about this. So another way you could look at this perchance is that you see at the
Yes.
beginning of this the boy is waking up and then he goes through this area called Limbo, like we talked about.
Hmm.
So, what if Limbo was inside his head the whole time?
Okay.
And then, in order to escape his own mind and get back to reality, ergo his sister, he has to solve all these puzzles and make it through his own subconsciousness or limbo to get out and then reawaken and see his get back to reality or his sister.
Huh. So it's like this was all a dream kind of thing.
Right. So it's kind of a
Hmm.
take on that.
Yeah.
So since the beginning and the end involves the boy laying on the ground waking up, that would be another idea of something that could be going on. But I did enjoy hearing about your philosophy of it because that does sound pretty interesting for sure, and it does definitely make sense with the information given within the game. So.
I was a little worried at the very end because we talked about last episode about how all the other humans or humanoids, they don't have glowing eyes like the protagonist does. And
Mhm.
we theorized that like, oh, maybe that's because the protagonist is alive, and the reason that everybody's trying to kill him is because he's like invading. He's somewhere he's not supposed to be.
Mhm.
Um, when we find the sister, we never see her eyes. Like she doesn't turn around. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I don't know. Again, the ending's very vague. I tried looking it up
Yeah.
to see if there's like a canon ending or like an agreed upon ending, and it just kind of seems like it's a bunch of theories and nobody knows for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of made me sad because my initial thought was like, oh, he found her, but like her eyes aren't glowing, so she's gone, and so maybe it's not a happy ending. I don't
All
know.
right.
I'm
So
not. I'm not trying to be depressing, but
All right. So to help your ending, how about we say if her eyes were not glowing, he donates his light to her. Is that better for you?
I mean, then he dies, which I guess is I don't know. Is it hero sacrifices himself to save like a person of interest? Is that more satisfying than hero fails to save person of interest?
Well,
Is
I would say it's your adventure, and what's important is with the ambiguity, you can decide how you want it to end.
I guess so. It made my jaw drop whenever I was like it just like I was having like life flash before my eyes kind of moment whenever he was like slow motion flying through the air, and I was just like Oh my gosh, every single time I've died, this is what's happened. And they just like black screened it and fast forward. I just was losing my mind. And then in my heart, I was sad when he found his sister because it didn't feel like a triumphant thing. I don't know. It was very ambiguous, like you said. So I guess,
Mhm.
any takeaway is valid since there's not a canon ending, but it was very somber for me.
And that would kind of be a good thing to show you about life if we're comparing this to life. There's not any climactic endings. There's not any right in your face like this is the end here. Like it just continues until it just doesn't. So that might be a great take on that, considering the game is called Limbo, and this could be that's just how life goes. That's how the game ends. You know.
It was very deep, John. I feel inspired, but also like sad. I don't know. I don't know what to do with this energy I have now. Um, yeah,
Play
man.
inside.
Do play inside. I recommend it. Use a controller, but play inside. It's available on every platform that I'm aware of, at least. Oh, every modern
Modern.
platform. Don't go try to play it on your, PSP. Actually, it might be on the PSP. It came out on the PS3, so it could be on the PSP.
Oh yeah, very well
Um,
could be.
Speaking of the PlayStation, um, we're gonna start a new game next time. We're gonna be playing the original Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation One. So if you happen upon this, like sharing this talk, we're gonna be playing that, and hopefully we're gonna have our other friend Ryder join us. So it'll be three white dudes with brown hair sharing their opinions about things that you didn't ask them to. But yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So look forward to that. We're going to play through the first environment of the game. It's split up into four environments. We're going to split it into four parts, I think. So if you find this, feel free to play along and leave any comments on this video if you want us to see them. Thank you so much for joining us for the finale of Backlog Crew Limbo episodes. Bye.